In the year 2205, Earth had become an unexpected player in the galaxy. Over the years, human ingenuity, combined with relentless determination, had turned a once struggling planet into a technological powerhouse. While many other civilizations had looked down on humanity, dismissing them as primitive and unworthy of attention, Earth had proved them all wrong. But not all alien races were pleased with Earth's rise. The Galactic Empire, a vast alliance of powerful species from across the stars, was the largest force in the galaxy. Their power was unmatched. They had conquered and subjugated countless worlds. For centuries, they ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, their reach long and their influence immense. Yet, despite their many victories, there was one planet they could never quite control: Earth. And as the years passed, the Galactic Empire began to see Earth's growing power as a threat to their dominance. The humans were unpredictable, and they would not easily be swayed by the Empire's demands. One morning, the galaxy woke to a chilling message. It was broadcast to every planet, every star system under the Empire's rule. A single voice, cold and commanding, echoed across the communications networks. The Galactic Empire demands Earth's surrender. Your planet must bow to our will or face destruction. The voice declared, "We offer you peace, but only if you accept our terms. Refuse, and the consequences will be dire. Choose wisely." The message was simple. The Empire's message was clear. Earth had no choice but to submit. Failure to do so would result in annihilation. This ultimatum was not a suggestion. It was a direct command. Back on Earth, the leaders gathered in a secure war room deep beneath the surface. These were the men and women who had led Earth through countless crises, from natural disasters to global conflicts, but none of them had ever faced anything like this. The air in the room was thick with tension. The Council, a group of high-ranking officials from all over Earth, had come together to decide their response. Some were frightened. The Empire's power was legendary. No one had ever stood against them for long and survived. "We can't fight them," one council member said, his voice trembling. "The Empire has fleets that could wipe out Earth in an instant. How could we possibly stand a chance?" Others were more resolute. "We have to fight," said another. "We cannot give in to their demands. Our sovereignty, our freedom, they're non-negotiable. If we surrender now, we're signing our own death sentence. We must resist." The room was divided. Some wanted to explore diplomatic options, others wanted to try and negotiate a peace. But there was one leader who spoke louder than the rest. General David Grant, a seasoned military leader who had been at the forefront of Earth's defense efforts for years, stood up. His expression was grim, but his voice carried with it the weight of experience. "We've been given a choice," he said, his eyes scanning the room. "We either surrender and allow the Empire to wipe out everything we've worked for, or we fight back. If we don't stand up for ourselves now, we might as well be signing our own extinction." The room fell silent as General Grant's words sank in. There was no middle ground. The decision would define the future of humanity. Would they surrender and live under the Empire's rule, or would they resist and risk everything? The answer seemed clear to most. "We're not going to be slaves to anyone," another council member muttered, her voice filled with defiance. "We'll fight. We'll show them what humanity is made of." And so the decision was made. Earth would not submit to the Empire's demands. They would resist. They would fight back with everything they had. But what the Empire didn't know, what they couldn't possibly have predicted, was that humanity had one advantage. They had never fought like this before. The humans were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their very way of life. Their hearts burned with an intensity that no alien race had ever witnessed. The Earth's war machine was ready. While the Galactic Empire may have believed they had Earth cornered, they had failed to understand the true nature of humanity. They were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Human fleets were mobilized. Every warship, every fighter, every soldier, and every piece of advanced weaponry was brought to bear. The Empire had made the mistake of underestimating humanity, and now Earth was going to show them the consequences of that mistake. As the first wave of ships launched from Earth's surface, the message was clear. Humanity had made its choice, and the Empire was about to find out just how dangerous humanity could be. The question now was simple. Would the Galactic Empire regret underestimating Earth? Or was this the beginning of the end for humanity's freedom? The countdown had begun. The decision to defy the Galactic Empire was made. Earth's leaders had resolved that surrender was not an option. There was no going back. But what was to follow was not simply an act of defense. Humanity wasn't going to kneel. They were going to fight back with all the fury they could muster. General David Grant stood on the command deck of the flagship Titan, his eyes focused on the vast expanse of space. The stars glimmered with an eerie stillness, but he could feel the tension in the air. The fleet was ready, and the battle for Earth's survival was about to begin. Around him, officers worked feverishly, running calculations and coordinating with the various branches of Earth's military. The Federation of Nations, a unified coalition of Earth's most powerful governments, had mobilized their entire space fleet. Over 100,000 warships, each one armed to the teeth, were positioned in the battle-ready formation. The skies above Earth were filled with a sea of metal, a stark contrast to the once peaceful view of the stars. The message had been sent. Earth's response to the Galactic Empire's ultimatum was clear. But the galaxy was still oblivious to the storm that was coming their way. While the Empire was used to victory, they had never faced a planet quite like Earth before. On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Empire's high command watched the human fleet assemble with quiet arrogance. The Emperor, a towering alien known for his ruthless rule, had expected Earth's swift capitulation. But as the fleet of warships gathered, his patience was tested. "They've mobilized," one of his generals said, studying the data transmitted from across the galaxy. "It seems Earth intends to fight." The Emperor's expression hardened. How foolish. They have no idea what they're up against. They're nothing but insects to us. In the Empire's mind, humanity was still an insignificant species, small, weak, and easily crushed. They had underestimated Earth's resolve and the sheer willpower of its people. The Empire had believed that their overwhelming force would scare Earth into submission. But the humans had shown no fear. Instead, they had chosen to fight. And now, the Empire would see just how dangerous it could be to push them to the brink. Back on Earth, General Grant addressed the assembled fleet commanders. His voice echoed in the massive command center as they prepared for the first strike. "This is our moment. We will show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity. Today, we fight for our future, for our children, for everything we hold dear," he declared. "We have one chance, one shot at this. So let's make it count." There was no turning back now. Earth's fleet would be the spearhead in the coming conflict. The first strike would set the tone for the war ahead, and every captain and soldier understood that this was more than just a battle for survival. It was a battle for their right to exist. The signal was given. All at once, the massive fleet launched into hyperspace, making its way to the heart of the Galactic Empire. The Empire would soon know that Earth was not a planet to be dismissed. Within hours, the fleet reached the outskirts of the Empire's territory. General Grant stood at the center of the command deck as the battle began. "Prepare for war. All ships, engage on my mark," he ordered. A few minutes passed, but the tension was unbearable. Every officer on the deck watched the enemy ships on their radar, each of them anticipating the first strike. The moment the enemy ships appeared on their screens, the humans unleashed their fury. The Titan and its fleet of warships opened fire, unleashing a storm of missiles, plasma blasts, and laser fire. The attack was swift and brutal, catching the Empire off guard. The first few ships in the Galactic fleet were obliterated in an instant, their shields no match for the sheer firepower of Earth's warships. The battle had begun, and the Empire wasn't prepared for what was to come. In the heat of battle, Grant's voice boomed across the comms. "Hold the line. We're not just defending Earth. We're sending a message to the entire galaxy." The Empire's forces, though vast, struggled to respond to the speed and precision of Earth's attacks. Humanity had the advantage of using their own tactics the Empire had never seen before. Humans fought fiercely, not with arrogance, but with desperation and sheer will to survive. Every missile, every laser fired, was an expression of humanity's determination to defend their home. The Empire may have thought they could crush Earth without breaking a sweat, but now they were seeing just how wrong they were. The first wave of galactic ships was in disarray, their formation shattered under Earth's relentless assault. The humans weren't just surviving. They were fighting back with all they had. However, the Empire wasn't about to back down so easily. As the first skirmish came to an end, the Empire's counterattack began. Massive reinforcements arrived from across the galaxy. Thousands of warships, each more formidable than the last, appeared out of the void. The battle for Earth was about to escalate into something far bigger than anyone had anticipated. But General Grant wasn't worried. Earth had already proven its power. It wasn't just their technology that made them dangerous. It was their unbreakable spirit. "This is only the beginning," Grant muttered to himself. "We're not going to stop until every last one of them knows exactly what it means to face humanity in battle." And with that, Earth's warships surged forward again, determined to fight for their freedom. The battle was far from over. What began as a skirmish, a sudden clash between the Galactic Empire and Earth's determined fleet, was now quickly escalating into a full-scale war. The vastness of space, once peaceful and empty, was now filled with the echoes of lasers, explosions, and the rush of battle cries. On the command deck of the Titan, General David Grant stood resolutely, his eyes fixed on the holoscreens that mapped out the battlefield. Ships continued to drop in and out of formation as they fought, one battle after another, with the Empire's forces growing stronger with every minute. "Captain Parker," Grant called out to his right-hand officer, who was deeply focused on the ever-changing data before him. "What's the situation with the Empire's reinforcements?" Captain Parker's face was tense. "They're sending more ships, General, far more than we expected. Their numbers are overwhelming, but our tactics are working. We've still got them on the back foot." The enemy fleet had adjusted quickly, but so had humanity. While the Empire had its own tactics, Earth's fleet had evolved, using guerrilla-style hit-and-run tactics. They were quick, efficient, and ruthless, hitting the enemy at unexpected angles, breaking their formations, and retreating before the Empire could organize a counterattack. Still, the fight was hard. Earth's ships were smaller, less numerous, and lacking the advanced technology that the Empire wielded. The Empire's ships were enormous, heavily armored, and capable of devastating firepower, but the humans had something the Empire could never understand: resilience. On the battlefield, Earth's ships maneuvered with speed, darting between asteroids, using the debris to shield themselves from the Empire's attacks. Humanity's warships, equipped with advanced stealth technology and tactical agility, struck the Empire's ships with pinpoint precision, sending massive ships into disarray. Each explosion was like a message, loud and clear. Earth was not to be underestimated. But the Empire's response was fierce. The flagship of the Galactic Fleet, the Imperator, commanded by Supreme Admiral Voren, was the largest and most powerful ship in their arsenal. It loomed like a massive shadow in space, its weapons capable of destroying entire fleets with a single strike. Admiral Voren had watched as the first wave of reinforcements fell to the humans' unexpected ferocity. The humans weren't supposed to have this much fight in them. "Deploy the Death Fleet," Admiral Voren ordered with cold precision. "We will crush them once and for all. These creatures think they stand a chance. It's time to remind them why we are the Galactic Empire." The Imperator launched its devastating weapons, raining down destruction on Earth's fleet. Thousands of laser blasts cut through the vacuum of space, annihilating entire squadrons of human warships in seconds. But despite the overwhelming firepower, humanity refused to falter. On Earth, the Federation's military leaders watched the chaos unfold. Earth's remaining warships were dwindling in number, and the situation was becoming increasingly dire. The command room buzzed with urgency as reports of massive casualties came in from the front lines. "General Grant, we need to pull back," a voice said from across the room. It was Commander Helen Rhodes, a fierce and respected officer who had been fighting on the front lines. "We've lost too many ships already. If we don't pull back soon, we'll lose everything." Grant didn't hesitate. He understood the gravity of the situation but refused to give up. "We will not pull back. Earth doesn't know how to surrender. Our job is to hold them off for as long as we can. The reinforcements are coming." General Grant's words rang with determination, but even he knew that the odds were against them. But one thing Earth had in spades was ingenuity. Grant had sent word to Earth's remaining fleet, using the communications network to pass on a dangerous plan, something risky but necessary to turn the tide of battle. At that moment, across the galaxy, more fleets of warships began to emerge from the warp points. This was humanity's last hope, the reinforcements they had secretly built in the last few months. The fleets, hidden away in the far reaches of the solar system, had finally arrived. Earth's full military might have been waiting for this moment. The reinforcements, each ship more advanced than the last, appeared in the distance like a streak of lightning across the stars. It was a force to be reckoned with. "Reinforcements have arrived, General," Captain Parker shouted. "We have the numbers now. Let's take the fight to them." The tide of battle began to turn. As the fresh wave of Earth's ships arrived, the human forces regrouped, pushing back against the Galactic Empire's relentless assault. It was no longer a fight for survival. It was a fight for dominance. "We fight for Earth," General Grant said, his voice steady as he watched the new wave of ships position themselves for attack. "Today, the Empire will know what humanity is capable of." As the two forces collided in space, the Titan led the charge, firing massive energy blasts that shattered the Empire's formations. The Imperator loomed in the distance, its immense power still threatening. But now, with the reinforcements in place, the battle was far from over. It was only just beginning. Meanwhile, the Emperor on his throne, far away on the galactic capital, looked out at the battlefield from his observation deck, his face twisted with anger and disbelief. He had thought the humans would fold under pressure, but their response was far more terrifying than he had ever imagined. They had not only survived, they were pushing back. "This is impossible," he muttered. "How can they be so relentless?" His thoughts were interrupted by a message from Admiral Voren. "Your Majesty, we are facing heavy resistance. The humans are proving far more capable than we anticipated. They are far stronger than we ever believed. We must reconsider our strategy." The Emperor stood up, his eyes burning with fury. "Reconsider? No, the humans will bow to us. They will be crushed beneath our heel." But even as he said it, a seed of doubt began to take root in his mind. In space, the battle raged on, and humanity's resolve only grew stronger. The battle between the Galactic Empire and humanity was no longer a mere clash of fleets. It had evolved into a war for survival. The Empire, once confident in their overwhelming power, now found themselves struggling to hold on to their advantage. Humanity's unexpected response had thrown them into chaos, and with every passing hour, Earth's forces gained ground. On board the Titan, General David Grant stood by the observation deck, gazing at the scene unfolding in space. He could see the battle from above, the newly arrived Earth warships joining the fray, attacking with precision and fury. The tide had finally begun to shift, but the war was far from over. "We need to keep the pressure on them," Captain Parker said, stepping beside Grant. "We can't give them a chance to regroup. If we give them any breathing room, they'll crush us." Grant nodded. "I know. We'll keep pushing forward. Earth has always been at its strongest when it's backed into a corner. We have to remind the Empire that humans fight for more than survival. We fight for our future. As Earth's warships advanced, the Empire began to regroup. The Imperator remained a looming presence on the battlefield, but even it couldn't stop the swarm of humanity's forces. In the midst of the chaos, Admiral Voron's voice crackled through the comms, demanding reinforcements. We need more firepower now. The humans are organizing their forces into a tighter formation. If they press harder, they will overwhelm us. But it wasn't just the size of the human fleet that was starting to worry the Empire. It was the strategy. Humanity had learned to fight with cunning and adaptability, using the very environment of space to their advantage. While the Empire relied on brute force, Earth's forces were flexible and tactical. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Federation's leadership had been working tirelessly behind the scenes. With the arrival of humanity's reinforcements, they were preparing a daring new plan, one that could end the conflict once and for all. But it would require incredible precision and a level of trust in their technology and strategy that no one had ever expected. In the war room, Commander Helen Rhodes leaned over the holotable, studying the latest intel. She was joined by several high-ranking officers, including the engineers who had developed the secret weapon humanity had been building for the past year. "General Grant is right," she said, her eyes locked on the battlefield projection. "If we want to break the Empire's hold, we need to hit them where it hurts the most, their supply lines. We cut off their reinforcements, and we cripple their ability to fight." But it wasn't just any strike that could achieve this. It would require the use of the new technology humanity had developed, the hyperstrike bomb, a weapon so powerful it had the potential to disrupt the very fabric of space itself. If it worked, it would be the decisive blow that humanity needed. But there was one problem. It was still experimental, and there was no guarantee it would work. "Are we ready to deploy it?" Rhodes asked, turning to the engineers. The lead engineer, Dr. Ava Lynch, nodded slowly, her face a mix of excitement and concern. "Yes, the hyperstrike is ready, but it's risky. There's a chance it could backfire. If it does, we could lose everything." Rhodes didn't hesitate. "We have no choice. We can't afford to wait any longer." On the Titan, General Grant received word of the plan. He wasn't sure about the hyperstrike, but he trusted his people. If there was a chance this could end the war, they had to take it. "Prepare the fleet," Grant ordered, his voice unwavering. "We're going in. We hit the Empire's supply lines and cripple them. We have one shot, and we're taking it." As Earth's fleet began to organize for the assault, the Empire's forces tried to regroup, but the pressure from humanity was relentless. The Imperator began to show signs of wear and tear as Earth's warships picked off the Empire's ships, one by one. It was clear the Empire had underestimated the resolve of the human race, and now it was too late to stop it. But as the battle raged on, something unexpected occurred. A new fleet, one that humanity hadn't accounted for, emerged from a nearby asteroid field. It was the largest fleet Earth had ever seen. Yet it wasn't from the Galactic Empire. It was a coalition of other alien species, ones who had been watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to join the fray. The Galactic Empire had underestimated humanity, but what they hadn't realized was that Earth wasn't alone. The rest of the galaxy was watching. The warning from the aliens all those months ago wasn't just about the Empire's power, it was about their arrogance. "General Grant, we've got reinforcements," Captain Parker said, his voice full of disbelief. "A new fleet. It's made up of several alien species. They're here to fight with us." Grant's eyes widened as he looked at the incoming fleet. It was a sign that the tide was truly turning. Humanity, once considered a small and insignificant force, had now united others in the galaxy against a common enemy. "This is it," Grant said, a sense of relief washing over him. "The Empire will never see this coming. They're not just fighting Earth anymore. They're fighting an entire alliance." The battle was no longer just between the Empire and Earth. It had become a galactic struggle, one that would change the course of history. Humanity's resilience had sparked a revolution, and the Empire's days of unchecked rule were numbered. The massive galactic battlefield stretched across the stars, with every ship in Earth's fleet pressing forward with unyielding force. The newly arrived alien coalition joined the human forces, creating a vast, united front against the once mighty Galactic Empire. The Titan, General Grant's flagship, soared through the chaos, a symbol of humanity's resilience and newfound alliance. As the battle raged, humanity's warships fought side by side with ships of alien origin, all pushing toward one singular goal: to dismantle the Galactic Empire's power. On board the Titan, the atmosphere was tense. General Grant stood at the command center, overseeing the unfolding battle. The Empire's forces were faltering. Their ships were no longer charging forward with the same confidence they had when they first arrived. The might of Earth's forces, bolstered by their alien allies, was overwhelming. "Captain Parker, status report," Grant ordered, his voice steady but focused. Parker looked up from his station, eyes scanning the digital readouts. "We've got them on the ropes, General. Their outer fleet is crumbling, but we haven't broken through their inner defenses yet. The Imperator is still in play. If we don't take it out soon, we risk them regrouping." Grant clenched his fists. The Imperator was the heart of the Empire's fleet. Taking it down would be their final blow. He turned to the holomap of the battlefield. The alien fleet had made significant progress, but the Empire's inner core was still holding strong. It was time to make their move. "Prepare the hyperstrike bomb," Grant said decisively. "It's time to end this." Meanwhile, across the battlefield, Admiral Voren, the commander of the Empire's forces, was gripped with a growing sense of dread. The human fleet had performed far better than he had expected. The reinforcements, those strange ships from unknown alien species, had turned the tide of the battle. For the first time in his military career, he was faced with the terrifying reality that he might lose this war. "We've underestimated them," Voren muttered, watching the chaos unfold on the battlefield. He turned to his officers. "Prepare for a counteroffensive. All ships, engage the human forces with full power. We cannot afford to lose." But as the Empire's forces moved to launch a counterattack, another unexpected twist shook the battle. "Sir," one of the communication officers cried, "we're receiving an emergency signal. Another fleet is emerging from hyperspace. It's coming from Earth's direction." Voren's eyes widened in disbelief. "Another fleet? Were they truly so relentless? We're already fighting a losing battle. Now they send more," he said, more to himself than anyone else. "This is madness." The new fleet, human-built but with more advanced weaponry and an unbroken fighting spirit, arrived just as the Empire was on the verge of regrouping. With no warning, the fleet launched its attack. The power of their weapons stunned the Empire's commanders. Back aboard the Titan, General Grant received word of the new arrival. "This is our moment," Grant said. "We've got the Empire surrounded, but they're still hanging on. If we push forward with the hyperstrike now, it'll finish them off for good." The engineers on the Titan had prepared for this moment. The hyperstrike bomb was their final ace. Humanity had designed it not just as a weapon, but as a statement. This was the last stand for the Empire, a weapon so powerful that even the Empire's most formidable ships wouldn't stand a chance. Dr. Ava Lynch, the lead scientist behind the hyperstrike, stood at the operations table, her fingers hovering over the activation console. She looked at Grant, her face a mixture of determination and caution. "General, we have one shot at this. If we fail, the Empire could retaliate and take us out. Are we ready to take that risk?" Grant looked at her, his gaze unwavering. "We've come too far to back down now. Humanity will not fall to anyone. It's time to finish this." With a nod from Grant, Dr. Lynch initiated the countdown. The Titan aligned its systems with the new fleet, the hyperstrike locked and loaded. On the edge of space, the Empire's remaining ships lined up for their final stand. The Imperator loomed, its cannons primed for battle, but Grant knew what was coming. The countdown ticked lower, and the crew of the Titan held their breath. Every officer, every soldier, every pilot knew that they were moments away from changing the fate of the galaxy forever. 5, 4, 3. The tension in the air was palpable. The Empire's ships turned to face them, readying their weapons for a final clash. The engines of the Titan roared to life, its immense warship charging toward the heart of the Empire's forces. It would be the final assault, the one that determined who would emerge victorious in this galactic war. 2, 1. Launch. The hyperstrike bomb released from the Titan's belly, traveling through space at incredible speed. The explosion, when it came, was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. It sent a shockwave through space itself, disrupting the Empire's fleet and obliterating any remaining resistance. The Imperator was the first to fall, its massive hull crumpling under the force of the explosion. The rest of the Empire's fleet scattered in disarray, too stunned to fight back. As the shockwave cleared, silence fell over the battlefield. Humanity had done the impossible. They had broken the Empire's stranglehold on the galaxy. "Is it over?" Captain Parker asked, as the battle began to die down. Grant stared at the wreckage of the Empire's fleet, his heart pounding in his chest. Yes, it's over. The victory was theirs, but the war had come at a cost. Countless lives had been lost on both sides, but humanity had proven that no force in the galaxy could take them down. The Galactic Empire had underestimated Earth, and now they would never make that mistake again. The dust of battle still hung in space, as the last remnants of the once feared Galactic Empire floated lifelessly in the void. The Titan and its fleet had delivered the final blow, but the aftermath was both victorious and sobering. The battlefield, once a chaotic clash of warships, was now eerily quiet. The wreckage of Imperial ships drifted like forgotten carcasses, scattered across the galaxy like remnants of a dying star. General Grant stood on the command deck of the Titan, gazing at the scene outside. The stars twinkled in the distance, and in the silence of space, the victory was both sweet and heavy. He had led humanity through the storm, but now that the storm was over, the realization of what they had achieved, and the toll it had taken, hit him harder than any battle ever could. "General, we've received a message from the Galactic Senate," Captain Parker called out, his voice filled with caution. "They want a meeting with you. The Senate leaders are already discussing what comes next for the galaxy." Grant nodded slowly. He knew what was coming. The Senate was eager to move forward with the peace talks, but humanity was in no mood for mere diplomacy. The victory had cost them dearly. They'd lost thousands of lives, but more importantly, they had lost something the Empire had taken long ago: their freedom. As Parker handed him the communication device, Grant couldn't help but think back to the early days of the conflict. It had started as a simple dispute, a series of diplomatic misunderstandings. But the moment the Galactic Empire had decided to demand humanity's surrender, everything changed. Humanity's defiance had ignited a firestorm that could not be extinguished. And now, after the dust had settled, the Empire was broken, scattered into pieces. The communication screen flickered to life, revealing a group of faces, officials from various galactic systems, some human, some alien, all with grave expressions. General Grant, the head of the Senate, an imposing figure named Terran, spoke first. "Your victory over the Galactic Empire is a historic moment for the galaxy. But now that they are broken, we must decide how to proceed." Grant looked around the room. He could sense the uncertainty in the air. The Empire had ruled with an iron fist for centuries, and now its collapse left a power vacuum that no one had anticipated. What happens to the Empire's territories? One of the Senate members, an alien species with 4 arms and an elongated head, asked. "Who will govern them now?" Grant's gaze hardened. He had no intention of letting the Empire's reign simply fade into history without consequences. "The Empire's territories will no longer be governed by them," he said, his voice steady but firm. It's time to let the people of those worlds decide their own fate. But the chaos, another official stammered. There will be anarchy. The Empire has kept order in the galaxy for centuries. Grant clenched his jaw. The people of the galaxy deserve more than order through oppression. They deserve freedom. It's time for a new era, one where the galaxy is governed by its people, not by tyrants. A murmur of agreement spread through the room, but it was clear that not everyone was on board. Terran, the Senate leader, gave Grant a hard look. You're asking for a revolution, General, and revolutions are dangerous. Grant's eyes met his. I'm not asking for a revolution. I'm demanding change. And I won't rest until every world in this galaxy has the chance to live free without fear. The days following the battle were a blur of diplomacy, negotiations, and endless debates. The Senate was split. Half of the leaders wanted to return to the status quo, to rebuild and restore the Galactic Empire's former glory. The other half, including many of the human and allied alien representatives, were ready to forge a new path forward. In the midst of all the discussions, General Grant found himself growing more impatient. The galaxy had been under the thumb of the Empire for far too long. He couldn't sit by and watch as old systems of control were reinstated. One day, as Grant walked through the corridors of the Titan, he met with Dr. Ava Lynch. She was looking over reports on the war's casualties, her brow furrowed in deep thought. The Empire may be gone, but the real fight is just beginning, she said, her voice filled with concern. Grant stopped and turned to face her. What do you mean? The Senate leaders are still negotiating, but the galaxy is in chaos. Factions will rise to fill the power vacuum left by the Empire. The people might think they're free, but without a stable system, they could fall into worse hands. Grant nodded, understanding her concern. That's why we can't back down. We've won the battle, but the war for peace is far from over. The aftermath of the war was a time of uncertainty, but also of hope. Humanity, once on the brink of destruction, had become the driving force for a new future. The galaxy, once ruled by fear, was now filled with possibilities. But peace would not come easily. The factions left in the wake of the Empire's fall were unpredictable, and some were still unwilling to give up their power. For General Grant and the rest of humanity, their fight wasn't over. They had proven their strength, but now they had to prove their resolve in the face of an uncertain future. As the Titan prepared to leave the battlefield, General Grant looked out at the stars once more. There was a new determination in his eyes. Humanity had survived the war, but now they would be the ones to lead the galaxy into the future. The Titan cruised through the quiet stretches of space, its engines humming steadily. Inside, General Grant stood in the command center, eyes locked on the stars beyond. The ship's crew moved with purpose, but the tension in the air was palpable. Humanity had fought hard to free itself from the grip of the Galactic Empire, but now they were faced with a greater challenge: shaping the galaxy's future. The aftermath of the war had left deep scars. The Galactic Empire had been shattered, but its remnants lingered in the form of resistance groups, rogue factions, and power-hungry warlords. In some places, chaos reigned. In others, the people had begun to rebuild, but the future remained uncertain. "We've received word from the Council," Captain Parker said as he entered the room, his tone heavy. "They've called for a summit to discuss the rebuilding process. The galaxy is fractured, General. There are leaders who still want to restore the old ways. Some think peace is just a temporary pause before the next war." Grant turned to face him, his expression unyielding. "I knew it wouldn't be easy, but we can't let the mistakes of the past take root again. The galaxy deserves more than a return to tyranny." Parker nodded. "But how do we prevent it? The Senate's fractured, and there are too many competing factions. How do we unite them?" Grant stepped closer to the viewport, his gaze fixed on the distant stars. "We don't need to unite them under a single empire or government. We need to give them something better: freedom. The people of this galaxy must decide their own fate, not be ruled by those who seek to control them. The idea had been clear to Grant since the beginning of the war. The destruction of the Galactic Empire wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new era, one where the galaxy could choose its own path. But achieving that vision would require more than just strength. It would require courage, diplomacy, and unity. "Prepare for the summit," Grant said after a moment of silence. "We're not here to play the Empire's game anymore. We're here to offer the galaxy a choice." The summit took place on a neutral planet, one that had managed to stay out of the Empire's reach. Representatives from all across the galaxy gathered: alien species, former Imperial officials, and human leaders, all under the same roof. The tension was palpable. No one trusted each other completely, but there was one common thread: fear of what the future held. As Grant stood before the assembly, he could see the weary faces of those who had lived under the Empire's shadow for too long. The scars of war were evident in their eyes, but so was a glimmer of hope. This was their chance to reshape the galaxy, to finally break free of the chains that had bound them for so long. "We stand at the precipice of a new dawn," Grant began, his voice carrying authority. "The Empire is gone. The old ways are broken. Now we must decide. Will we continue down the path of fear and domination, or will we build a new future, one of freedom and self-determination for all species?" The room fell silent. For a moment, it seemed as though no one would answer. Then, a representative from the Zulkran species, a towering alien with translucent skin, stood up. "What you propose sounds noble, General, but the galaxy is fractured. We have been ruled by fear for so long. How can we trust each other now?" Grant nodded, acknowledging the concern. "Trust must be earned, not assumed. But we cannot let fear hold us back. We've seen what happens when power is concentrated in the hands of a few. We've seen the destruction, the pain. If we are to build something better, it will require each of us to put aside old grudges and work together." Another delegate, a human representative from the colony on Callista, spoke up. "But what about those who refuse to cooperate? What happens to the factions that still believe in the Empire's ideals?" "We will face those challenges, just as we faced every other obstacle," Grant replied. "But we will do it as free people, united by a common purpose. We will offer the galaxy a chance at true self-rule. If they reject it, we will defend it." The debates continued for hours, but as the sun began to set on the neutral planet, a new agreement was formed. The galaxy would be rebuilt, not under the rule of an empire, but as a federation of free worlds. Each planet, each species, would have the right to govern itself. The Empire's reign was over, and a new chapter had begun. Months passed since the summit, and the rebuilding of the galaxy was slow, but steady. The Titan and its fleet moved between systems, offering protection to those in need and ensuring that peace was maintained. General Grant, though still carrying the weight of his role, found a sense of peace in knowing that humanity had helped bring about this change. As he stood on the bridge of the Titan one evening, watching the stars pass by, Grant knew that the fight for freedom wasn't over. There would be challenges ahead, but humanity had proven its strength, and now, the galaxy had a chance to write its own destiny. The warships were gone. The Empire was no more. But the spirit of resistance, the fire of humanity, would continue to burn, lighting the way for the future.